So I always want to do some stuff associated with my story um, when I do a poem. And after doing the note, I talked about losing the will to live. And I want to go through I want to talk about mental health a little bit. So if you look at the prescriptions that I had, right, citalopram, that was my baseline. They gave me 3 to 4 different prescriptions of that. They were always stronger. Wellbutrin, gabapentin, trazodone, Seroquel, Zoloft, Abilify, Ritalin, Depakote, Latuda, and Klonopin. Those are the psychological drugs that they put me on at different times. Uh, and I was able, once I got sober, but ultimately I wasn't your standard alcoholic and addict. I didn't use it as a party. I used it as, it was medicine for me. My mind would race, right? A lot of people say, well, he has ADHD. What I have is an ability to see patterns, and my focus is great unless it gets distracted. So if you want to call that ADHD, maybe that's the medical term. They put a lot of different titles on me, from bipolar to borderline personality order. They said I suffer from extreme anxiety and depression. Ultimately, if you're drinking and using, your psychiatrist will never get it right, because number one, those things they're interfering with what the medicine is supposed to do. And during any time where you have a real mental health emergency, that medication is definitely necessary, because you got to put the fire out, right? Anxiety is the best explanation I ever had for it. Is what you have always, everyone has it, is they have a endless field of dry grass. And what anxiety is a spark or a cigarette butt flipped into the middle of that, and the wind is just right, and now that's on fire. And once it's on fire, you have to get it exhausted to be able to control it. Now, if you know anything about substance abuse, you know there's 2 things that you can die from withdrawal of, and that is benzodiazepines and alcohol. Those are the 2 that risk death during withdrawal. Benzos have their place. They definitely worked for me to get the anxiety out, but then they were regulating my life. And in the way my mind worked was as life and extreme consequences and all of the things that come to visit you as an adult that you don't believe will as a child. My mind moved faster, and ultimately the most terrible part of mental illness was what I would call racing thoughts. And the only way I can explain it to anyone is if you had a television that was not streaming but was continually changing channels, and that would keep you awake, and there was a small ringing below that felt like something was drilling into your head. And the only way that I ever found to put that out when all that was happening was alcohol. And opiates on top of it definitely made it feel better. And then benzodiazepines to come off of all of that is how I worked. It would make it all feel manageable, but then the next day you would compound the problem, so then you would need more. Alcohol was very effective at removing anxiety from my life, but one of the number one side effects of alcohol is a creation of a false anxiety. In a 12-step, they call it getting tight. I never liked that title, because to me it was an all-encompassing, destroying fear that wouldn't allow me to function or do anything else. It wasn't rooted in anything reasonable, in any type of reality. It was just generalized terror is the way that I would describe it to everyone. And as I got sober, I had a great doc. I've had the same doctor for 14 years. From the very first time I needed him in 2011 to today, he's still my doctor. And we came up with a plan after I got sober to start removing medicines. And I have to be very, very disciplined in what I do. If you want to know how it works, it's like this. You need sunlight because you need vitamin D. You need exercise because you need the endorphins that it provides to your body. As an addict, I have to be careful because I'll overdo it. So I have to be disciplined. You need a high fat, low carb diet, and ultimately you need to fast a lot. I fast every single day. I barely, if you go to the fridge and you don't know what you want to eat, you're not hungry enough yet. So you have to be very disciplined in what you do. You have to shut off the TV. You have to reduce your screen time, and you have to, the best thing is find good things to pass your time, projects, reading, service, all of these things that we should be doing all the time instead of the things that we are doing all the time. So I don't want to be on medication anymore, ever, not ever. The last time I saw my doctor, he said to me, he said, Raleigh, I've seen some dark stories. He said, and yours is about as dark as they get. I was pretty sure you weren't going to make it. And big smile on his face, he said, I'd be grateful for you to pay the fee to see me once a year so we could talk about fantasy football. So I've been very fortunate in my life. I had some great people. In 2011, if I hadn't had my wife at that time, I'd be dead, right? I'd for sure be dead. I didn't sleep or eat for, I don't know, from what I can figure out, about 2 weeks. Based on anxiety, from what I can remember. I just know when I got there, they said, you're very close to dying from a lack of sleep. And she made me go to the hospital, and I'm sure grateful for that. I would be dead if it wasn't for her. She hadn't, and the way she did it was hilarious. She said, if you don't go to the doctor, I'm gonna call your mom. And I was like, I'll go to the doctor, for sure. Because I didn't want my mom coming there and seeing me like that. It's hard, and if you know anyone that's struggling with any of it, they might push you away, and they might drive you further with anger. They'll do anything they can. They're in a constant state of fight or flight, is what you need to understand. People talk about panic attacks. I've had panic attacks for such a long period of time, and I just couldn't have anyone around me, right? I would do anything, use any tool of emotion to get you away from me, to get you to leave me alone. And I still have those moments where I step into my trauma and the reaction is complete and utter. It's attack. It's always attack. I don't have flight anymore. It's rare that I have flight. If it is, it's usually in a group setting, like a restaurant or something, where I get uncomfortable and I can just excuse myself out the door. For the most part, though, if I feel like it's a trigger and it just goes from one thing to the next, and it's immediately, I'll do anything I can to get all these people away from me. That doesn't matter if I love you. None of that matters, right? It's not a decision that I make. It's just a reaction that triggers in my head. And there's some great resources out there. There's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, I think is the name of it. There's EMDR, yoga, and group therapy. Those are the best things for people with trauma. For sure, group therapy. You need a good therapist that can relate to whatever your trauma is, and you need a group of like-minded people. EMDR is eye movement desensitizing resonance. I think I got that wrong, but it's a good tool, and one of the best is to do yoga. You know, even if you hate yoga, if you want to get anxiety and mental health or different things out of your life, you're going to need to embrace the suck. You're going to need to look at what Jocko and all those Navy SEALs, David Goggins, what they talk about is you're going to have to do things that you don't want to do, right? You're going to have to embrace that there's a bunch of stuff that you don't do, that you don't want to do, that you're going to have to do. I'm a big advocate for mental health, not just men, like we talk about men's mental health a lot. Women's mental health is extremely important, and I don't know why we're not talking about it. For sure, we live in a society where both, everyone I talk to that's ever been into a mental health facility said, well, I don't belong here. No, everyone belongs there. A great doctor told me, he said, everyone doesn't realize they're 15 seconds from being my patient for the rest of their life. And he said about 80% of people walking around out there should have already seen me. It doesn't have to be done with medication. There's great therapists, there's great groups, there's great people. There's a ton of resources out here that need to be used. I'm passionate about it. I don't have to see my doctor anymore. I had a situation, I was traveling for business, and just an immense amount of stress, personal stress. I'd been removed from society for 6 years, and to be reintroduced to it, I was ill prepared to do that. It was a shock. It was a misunderstanding of me not understanding society, which is pretty normal. I stay pretty isolated. I don't let a lot of people into my life. The other thing was professionally, I just had a lot on me. And what that did is I do a thing called packing. I'm fine. And a lot of people do this. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. And then it'll come out and it will go not at a person that it needs to go to. It will go to somebody that has absolutely nothing to do with it. And it'll be a complete and utter attack, just a vomiting of information. And it's called offboarding or chandeliering. I learned this from a Brene Brown book called Dare to Lead that my sister gave me. As soon as I explained to her what had happened to me while I was traveling, she said, I just said, I need a leadership book by a woman. I said, I have trouble with the relationship between men and women based on my past and my mom, and there's just so many things, right? And my sister handed me a book by Brene Brown, and literally in that book, it went through exactly what had happened to me. Brene Brown, Dare to Lead. It's a great book, wonderful resource where she gets into the difference between guilt and shame, and empathy and sympathy. She's an amazing writer. Love that book. I will read it every year probably because I learn more from it each and every time. I always want to try to attach something that has to do with addiction, mental health, recovery, growth. Just try to get better. And don't look at me and say, he's got it together. If anybody doesn't have it together, it's me, right? I'm learning on a daily basis. I try to live my life 24 hours at a time. I fail more than I'm successful, but I've just come to the point in my life where I've decided when I fail, I need to take one thing that I can learn from it to try to not do again. We all fail. It's not the only failure in failure is accepting it. That's it. Is accepting it and saying, this is the way this is. Well, that's who I am. That's the worst excuse ever, right? Well, I'm good enough. No, you're good enough maybe today, but tomorrow you need to be just a touch better. Just a little bit better. That's it. You're not fine just the way you are. You have many, 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 many things to work on, and so do I. And having a conversation like this is a start, right? And sometimes you just got to start, and you don't know where you're going to go. I've learned that when I don't know the path, I'm probably on the right path. And that helps me learn to surrender. It helps me have my faith. It helps me pray more, meditate more, read more, stay focused more on what do I need to do when I fail, when I have a conflict with a person. I own a big part of it, no matter what. No matter what, I own a big part of it. Now that doesn't mean immediately I'm going to be able to fix it, or I'm going to be able to take accountability for it. I have to learn to get perspective, which means you have to get all the emotion out of it and look at it objectively. And once you do that, and then you take accountability for what you did, it's a weight lifted off your shoulders that you can't imagine. You start to remove those things, take that stuff out of the closet, that's been hiding in there. When you pull disease and mold out on the floor in the sun, it runs. I can say that. When you pull it into the light, that mold and disease will run. So more to come. Thanks for your time. I'm the Rooster.